I am delighted to have our guest today, Tarek Fatah. He's been on the show before, a friend of mine, the author of a book called The Jew Is Not My Enemy. That's good news for me.
That's
and,
you.
And you are someone I call a Muslim for freedom. You love being Muslim, but you love freedom. And you spend every effort to reconcile the two, and even at great personal risk. Just before we were on, you were telling me some of the hatred you've received in response. Tell me a bit about that.
Well, there was a website set up called, and it said, TFAT's got cancer and we have to celebrate it.
Oh my God.
There was
Why is that? Why do they hate you?
I think they hate me because I figured out what their agenda is, and most people in the West, even the conservative to the liberal left, feel restrained in taking up the issues for fear of offending people of racial minorities, lest they be called racist. But I'm comfortable with my faith. I've done the Hajj twice. I'm quite happy being a happy Muslim. They, in fact, are people, or fascists, who have a contempt for joy and life itself.
I like that phrase, happy Muslim, because, you know, Ayatollah Khomeini, who, you know, his successors run Iran and Ahmadinejad, Khomeini said there are no jokes in Islam.
Not only jokes,
no
you're not allowed to laugh, you're not allowed to clap.
That's not normal.
No, in Toronto.
Children giggle before they're even taught.
Of course, even the Muslim call to prayer is a song.
Huh.
And these are the people who would, if they had their way, they would not even have the rhythms of how you recite the Quran.
You know, happy Muslim, I love that phrase. I've never heard that before. First of all, I think it suits you great, because you've just got such a big old smile. But second of all, if you are a happy Muslim, that's sort of a compass direction. A happy Muslim is not a Muslim who is with anger and stands with a fist and saying, I'm going to smash.
I could be angry. Like anybody else, but I won't invoke faith to be angry.
Right.
I find anger and faith to be mutually contradictory.
Well, let's talk about, so I'm dealing with an Islamic state right now that is very not happy, and I'm talking about Saudi Arabia.
It's not an Islamic state. It is an occupying state.
Oh.
It is, Saudi Arabia is occupying the two holy Islamic cities of Mecca and Medina since 1925.
And by occupying, you're referring to the Saud family.
They invaded.
Well, where did they come from?
They came from the Sultanate of Najd, which Kim Philby's father, after converting to Islam, was managing the Saudi family. In 1925, the armies invaded the Kingdom of Hijaz, which was a member of the League of Nations. Historically, the family that now rules Jordan were, for hundreds of years, ruled over Mecca, Medina, Jeddah, Taif, these historical cities of Hijaz.
Well, you know, it's very rare that a country is named after a person. I mean, Rhodesia was named after Cecil Rhodes. They call it Zimbabwe now. Saudi Arabia is named after the Saud family. Let me tell you, I don't know if you've been following closely, but the Saudi kingdom has issued a legal threat, now not an Islamic fatwa, but they used a secular law firm called Norton Rose to threaten Canadian broadcasters from airing an ad that, you know, it's an oil sands ad, but really 90% of the content is talking about the way women are treated in Saudi Arabia. Now, you lived in Saudi Arabia for 10 years, am I right?
Yes, I was there.
Tell me the difference between what a Muslim woman can do in that country and what a Muslim woman can do in Canada.
Oh, it's like
just list it.
Day and night.
Let's have a list.
A Muslim woman, depends also if a Muslim woman is dark-skinned or light-skinned.
Really? So there's a racial element to it also?
Of course, it's an apartheid state. It has women, the mistreatment of women is the least of the problems in Saudi Arabia. The mistreatment of blacks and dark-skinned Pakistanis and Indians who are treated like dirt.
And they're mainly there as sort of indentured workers to work the oil fields.
Not just indentured. If you and I went there as Canadians to work on a same project of similar capability, your salary would be 10 times mine because you're fair-skinned. And I'm the dark, I don't want to use the P word, but they use it over there. They call blacks abdi, which is, hey you, my slave. So it is an apartheid state. It is a misogynist state. Women are degraded to an extent that they've started believing their own second-class status. But worst of all, Ezra, what is happening by us, of anyone buying Saudi oil, is it's the single biggest paymaster for international terrorism. Who do you think is paying the salaries of 20,000 Taliban soldiers? $500 a month. Show me which NGO can sustain an army of 20,000 soldiers to feed them the ammunition, the gasoline, the guns, the artillery, the mortar shells. Who buys this stuff?
Yeah. Well, you're exactly right. Listen, we're out of time on this segment, but I just got one more question for you. Look, we know Saudi Arabia is a terrible place for women, and you have reminded us that it's also a terrible place for minorities of various varieties. But now they're bringing that tyranny here. They threatened CTV, and CTV has acknowledged that because of that threat, they're not running this fairly innocuous ad. If you had one piece of advice or one word of condemnation for CTV, what would you tell the president of CTV right now?
Grow a spine. Your sponge-like spine is destroying this country.
But what if he's going to lose $250,000 in a lawsuit against the Saudis? What would you tell him then?
If he stood up and said, I need $250,000 to save, to fight against Saudi Arabia, all of Canadians would give $1 each and he'd be in the black.
I think you're right. You know, I think you're right.
Absolutely.
If he would say, if he would come out and say, I have been threatened,
yes, I
need help, even though CTV is a rich company, you're right, I'd chip in.
I'd chip in.
Absolutely.
I'd say, you want me to send me to the front to fight these hate mongers and freedom, taking the freedom of speech out of us? We'll fight the Saudis.
Yeah, good for you. You're a happy Muslim and you're a happy Canadian.
Absolutely.
And you're happy because you love freedom. And you know what? It's the better way.
I didn't come here to get bullied by Saudis.
Absolutely. And the